Welcome to the Scottsdale Planning Commission public hearing. The city encourages your interest and participation in the public hearing process. The Planning Commission is an advisory board to the City Council on land use and zoning matters. The meeting agenda items are development applications that require public hearings. The Planning Commission considers the request and makes a recommendation for approval or denial to the City Council. City Council makes the final decision for or against approval of an application. The agenda consists of the roll call, minutes approval of the prior meeting. Continuances are for items that will not be heard tonight. Withdrawals are for items that have been withdrawn from any further consideration. Consent agenda is for items not likely to require a presentation or discussion. All items on the consent agenda may be voted on together. Any commissioner may move any item from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. Regular agenda is where each item includes a presentation and recommendation by staff, a presentation by the applicant, and public testimony. After, the applicant will have the opportunity to respond to the public testimony. The Planning Commission then discusses the case and votes. Non-action is for items for discussion, and no vote will be made by the Planning Commission. Citizens wishing to speak on any agenda item may fill out a blue speaker card, or if not willing to speak, may fill out a yellow comment card and turn it into the staff table before the agenda item is to be discussed. The chair will call you by name when it is your turn to speak. When called, come to the podium, state your name and address, and then begin speaking. Groups wishing to speak should elect a spokesperson to represent the views of the group. To facilitate the meeting, your comment will be limited to 3 minutes for individual speakers, 1 additional minute for each additional individual present at the meeting who has contributed their time to a representative speaker, up to 10 minutes. Please format your speech to be accommodated within the applicable time frame given. For convenience in timing presentations, a light system is installed on the podium. The light will be green for 2 minutes and yellow for 1 minute. Please conclude your comments when the red light appears. Thank you for your interest and time. Now I'll begin the meeting with a roll call.
Chair Higgs.
Present.
Vice Chair Young.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Present.
Commissioner Kaminsky.
Here.
Commissioner Urtel.
Here.
Commissioner Scarborough.
Here.
Commissioner Serena.
Here.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to general public comment, which would be the yellow cards for non-agenda items. Does not look like we have any this evening. So with that, we'll move on to the administrative report. Mr. Curtis.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Higgs, members of the Commission. Just really briefly, for November, this is the only meeting we're having in November, and then our next meeting will be December 13th, and that's the only meeting we'll be having in December, and we do anticipate a full agenda for that meeting, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then after that, we won't meet till January 10th. So just to give you an update on that. But that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Now I'll move on to approval of minutes from the last meeting. If I could ask for approval of the regular meeting minutes from October 25th.
I'll move that we approve the regular meeting minutes from October 25th.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Kaminsky and a second.
I'll second.
Second from Vice Chair Young. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Higgs.
Yes.
Vice Chair Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Kaminsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Urtel.
Yes.
Commissioner Scarborough.
Yes.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now we'll move on to our action items for the evening, starting with the consent agenda. We have 2 consent agenda items. Number 2, 3UP 2023 Fire Station 612 and Well 160, and then agenda item number 3 is 4UP 2023 DC Ranch Corporate Center Lot 4. Both have been asked to move to the regular agenda. However, number 2, it sounds like we may just have 1 or 2 questions, so I don't know that a full presentation is required. Is that the case, Commissioner Serena? Okay, fantastic. So would you like to ask staff or the applicant, or who would you like to have step up for a question?
Yeah, I don't know. A couple questions. Is this right now? We'll go right into the.
Should we move it on to the regular agenda? Okay, moving on to regular agenda. There you go. It's
Missing
official
anything?
now.
That's what I was wanting to make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yes, yes.
Any formality. One question I had is in the packet, I know that Board Member Faki had asked some questions about sustainability. Had that been added, or what was, at the board meeting, he had asked for sustainability at the project? Was that addressed? I know it was enough to add in there.
Chair Higgs, Commissioner Serena, and Commissioners, it's going to be addressed with the Development Review Board submittal. This is just a site plan discussion.
Okay.
But there are sustainable elements as part of the building design that will be addressed with the DRB submittal.
Okay. And that was something I had read. But the questions I have, and I'm in support. I think the fire station's going to be great and obviously needed in that area. I've been curious or very interested in this larger piece with all that state trust land that we did have. How is this going to, just for our own edification, kind of reduce some of the response times? I know there's a lot of development going on in that area. I know there's a lot of projects coming online. And as we see more projects coming through, and this is a great time to talk about it with the fire station, what is that going to do? Like, where are the response times now? How does this help? And this is just more of a, I would say, education since we're on the topic. And I don't want to drag the chief up here. I really not. That is not my desire. I didn't bring that since he's here. But I was hoping maybe. Okay. Well then we. Yeah, Chief Shannon, this was not my
You've done it
intention.
now.
I had these questions before I saw you walk in the building. I promise, not my intent.
Madam Chair, Member Serena, and members, I'm not equipped today to give you exact response times. I can get back to the commission, though, with the response times in the area. As you know, this service area is a polygon that has been responded into by surrounding fire stations. We currently are seeing well over 1,600 calls a year for service in that polygon. So intuitively, we could say that response times are going to be dramatically improved. Obviously, with the air park position, going east will be covered by Station 9, covering the north and northeast sides and the south and southwest sides, and then this station obviously coming back from the other way. Interestingly enough, the city of Phoenix is also building a station at Mayo and 60th. It's almost an overlapping polygon. So we're going to have dramatically improved response times. We'll run some modeling for you and have it for you for your next meeting.
Okay. So you're saying 1,600. So that right now the current or the currently running stations are covering 1,600 calls that this station is going to be able to.
That is correct. And so you can assume that the response times are longer,
Sure.
quite long, in comparison to a station being there. The modeling we will run for you will show you what those exact response times look like from being served by Station 9, perhaps Station 10, or even 11 coming from off of Pima.
And how many, and I know we have mutual aid, but like how many typically do you like to see a fire station of, I think there's 12 people at this station, is that what I saw?
This station is intended to have fully one engine company, one battalion, and one ambulance. So that would be a total of 8, probably a maximum of 10.
And how many annual calls could that handle? I guess it depends on the call, but on average, or how you.
Sure. So we use what's called a standard of cover to determine our station location and placement. Usually you identify a station location based on the lowest served number of calls in any jurisdiction. For Scottsdale, it's around 500 calls a year for service would warrant a station being considered in that area. Obviously, we're 3 times that. The city of Phoenix does provide some support coming from the west. But as you know, being a graduate of our Citizens Academy.
Class 1, by the way, for the record.
The system is designed not to supplement services, not supplant. And so this station will go a long way in terms of serving those 1,600 calls a year for service. And also intuitively, and I will confirm this with our data, the time of day, day of week, and call type can be fairly predictably identified in there. And we would consider it probably a business hour sort of service delivery area. Just my gut feeling is that. But I'll run some analytics for you and get it to you in December.
So if you're saying 500, so that means that we would probably still have significant number of calls that are underserved once this is built? Like, we would need to project that we need another one somewhere in the area in the next few years?
So dividing 16 or 1,700 calls a year for service by 365 days, we can anticipate that what's called the unit hour utilization is going to be probably a challenge, but that's the beauty of the system. You get an automatic response system based on where vehicles are located and the closest unit responds. One would assume if the call is kicked out and units are in quarters, you will always meet that percentile of response time that we're looking for. It just matters where they're at any given time.
So on those percent calls now, are we below what our goal is in that area?
Well, of course, yeah. If no one's serving the area, then it would be incidental that a unit would be in the area and meet an adequate response time. That's what really drove this station a decade ago when we started putting it on a general plan.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you. And like I said, I'm definitely in support of it. I just think as we're approving projects, I'd like more feedback from public safety. So if right now, as a city, we're underperforming in that area of our goal, right, of what we want, I think we should try to plan ahead of that, right? It might not be perfect timing, but how long have we been in that area, you think, maybe underserving on our call times?
Oh, gosh, the growth in that area certainly outperformed our ability to get bricks and mortar, in play. And so I would say this station has been in our last standards of cover, and that's about an 8-year-old document. So well into the last 8 years, we've known that we are going to need resources there. And over that 8 years, we saw an increase in the calls for service as growth and development, occurred in that area. We'll run some more precise analytics for you, so you can get some good data out of it. But it's sorely needed, and it can't come too soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, I think we probably know who you are in your area of expertise, but if you wouldn't mind stating your name
My
so we have it on
apologies.
the record.
I'm Tom Shannon. I'm the city's fire chief.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Chief.
And I have one question
Yeah.
for staff.
For staff, okay.
Sorry, thank you very much, Chief. So on that, how should we think about those things as projects are coming up? Moving forward, we talk about public safety as always part of we're getting a project built and there's infrastructure, and I would imagine public safety is part of that infrastructure. And if we're hearing that, like, for 8 years we've been, deficient in that, how does that, what's staff's kind of position on, on the fact that we've approved projects in that area that would probably fall under this coverage that have been underserved per our goals by fire?
Well, for the most part, Chair Higgs and Commissioner Serena, the evaluation from the fire plan reviewers and the fire case reviewers have indicated that that the service is adequate for the proposed development. Now, the timing of the proposed development is always suspect in terms of when it goes through the Planning Commission by the time it gets built and needs to get the service being provided. But as part of that review process and the communication, then the fire department works through the budget process on satisfying the needs, and certainly this has come to fruition with this case.
Yeah, I think in the future, I don't know, maybe when he pulls the data and again for future cases, but as the growth, and we're seeing a lot of projects and the growth continues, I think it would be very helpful in the decision to see in a packet, what that impact of service would be really in hard, kind of hard data, right? If the response time should be, 2.5 minutes to a call, whatever it is, and that's our goal. And, as we see the growth in a certain area of what that coverage should be, and that anticipation now moves to, 4.5 minutes, I would imagine, given the number of healthcare calls, which are mostly related to health, not fire, right? That would be a significant response time difference, and from what I, know talking to Chief Shannon and other firefighters, that could have impacts on people's lives. And I think that's really important. So it is always signed off that we have the ability to do it because of mutual aid, and I totally appreciate that, and I think that's great. But I think we certainly, as a community, and I think our taxpayers, the citizens, would certainly like to know if we're approving projects at a certain clip and we haven't committed to public safety in that area to pick that up, it's going to make a big difference in the services they're getting as taxpayers. So again, I'm totally in support of the project. I think it's great. But if we're hearing that this has been like 8 years needed, and we continue to approve certain projects, I think it's really important. As somebody with, multiple generations of my family in this community with different medical needs, I want to make sure that that ambulance shows up at my kid's school when they're hurt and my dad's house if something happens immediately, and not because, 8 years ago we knew we needed this and we just kept building, and now because of other projects, the response time wasn't there. So, it is people's lives, and I think that's important. So, again, totally support. I think the fire department does a great job, but I think if we can see that impact packets moving forward, it'd be helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner Serena. Commissioner Gonzalez, did you have a question for staff?
Yes. Well, basically within that breakdown of the 18, approximately the call numbers in there, do you have it broken out as how many particular units are paramedic calls compared to, let's say, fire or traffic calls? Is it broken out that way, the report, or is it just kind of lumped together?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, we can define very precisely the call type. So when I provide that data to you in December, we'll break it down. We'll maybe give you a 3 to 5 year regression and give you a sense of what's in that area now.
Usually in those calls, the different alarm calls, they're called out usually. Is it usually always that the paramedics follow the fire coming out, or just the fire, or the paramedics separately?
Madam Chair, members, so you're blessed in this city to have paramedics on the fire truck. So when the call goes out and we arrive on scene, there are 2 paramedics on that fire truck. An ambulance is not called into the scene unless it's required for transport.
Very good. And then when you, if you ever have to, would there be an issue or a chance that sometimes that call would go out and they would have to do something other than their normal call range, like maybe support McDowell Mountain Preserve or anything like that? Is there any chance like that happening into a...
For this station?
Uh-huh.
Madam Chair, members, absolutely. So we are an all hazards department, and the system is designed that the call type is receives the closest responding appropriate unit. So in the case that you cite, if it's a technical rescue type call, you'll get the closest engine company or ladder company plus the technical rescue attribute. And then those assets keep coming until essentially the incident commander says we're good with resources. So depending on the incident type and the magnitude of it, we're blessed in this system too. And this system is second only to FDNY in terms of size. So they'll be coming from Buckeye if we need them.
Very good. At one time, I got a briefing on this at one point in time, and I kind of wanted that to have you explain that, because this really explains you're not the fire department. You are more than just the fire department. You're a whole aspect of fire stability and management. And I really appreciate your involvement with this, and thank you for your response.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tell, did you have a question as well?
Yes, thank you. And Commissioner Serena triggered this when he talked about adequacy of response time for new developments. Perhaps, and I'm thinking, relating this to transportation, how we'll get information on levels of service. It's not a matter of either or for a street. It's, how much can it handle and how much do things slow down? Perhaps, I don't know if that makes any sense, but if on new developments, staff could get some idea as to what this would do to the service in the area, it's not going to say, you're never going to say, well, we're not going to show up, or it's going to take us an hour. It's a matter of, how much additional time, or how much strain does it put on the system. So I think if you can give us some sort of quantitative, not you, I'm not sure who would be doing it, but, it's the idea of, what kind of stress does it put on the system? And I may have heard, I'm not trying to put words in Commissioner Serina's mouth, but it sounds like he was saying that the development got ahead of the infrastructure. And what I'm hearing is infrastructure didn't keep up. Not a criticism either way, it's just life. But, it might be that, we need this type of data as to, I'll call it level of service, by area, perhaps, whatever, so that we could see, so that City Council could see, we need more fire, or more fire, stations, that sort of thing. Anyway, I thought that was an excellent idea that he, or concept that he brought out. I would like to throw in one other thing. I think it was from an open house that I was at, where the residents slightly to the south, or just to the south, were concerned about having a fire station this close to them. Where I live, I'm close to Rio, Montana, and there's a fire station there, and that's right close to houses. So I went on next door, and I asked, people are laughing because you go on next door, you're going to get negative reactions. But I asked, is that Rio, Montana fire station a good neighbor, or is it a nuisance? Nobody said it was a nuisance. I got several responses. I even got responses from other neighborhoods that had fire stations in them, and universally, it's a good neighbor. So at least you're doing, the crew is doing a good job in Rio, Montana. So anyway, I think that the residents in this area will be just as happy. There's no reason they wouldn't be. It's a matter of, they fear the unknown, perhaps. They're concerned about the unknown. But, I think once they see it in action, they'll find it to be a good neighbor. So anyway, that was my comment. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Kaminsky, did you have a question for staff or the chief?
Sure. Yeah, and actually it's triggered by both of the observations made by the other commissioners. I know there's a targeted time of response that you're looking for, and we do get traffic analysis for projects in terms of level of service. So I think it'd be pretty easy to correlate what the level of service of a new, larger development would be in terms of the response time for emergency response. I'm wondering if there's been any analysis for cost of development when a new development comes in, accumulating that data towards the new funding for an additional fire station when an area is growing. As part of the general plan, we usually have cost of development as part of that.
Chair Higgs, I'm hoping we can steer this discussion back to the agenda item. We've really gone way past the agenda and focused. This is a municipal site master use plan for this particular location, not a general discussion about fire service and level of service in the city. So we can steer that back to the discussion at hand. It's on the agenda. I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Do we need to? Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on. I want to give the member of the audience a chance. Mr. Holmantel, did you still want to speak?
Super quick.
Sure. If you could please state your name and address.
Sure.
Thank you.
Charles Humanel with Axon, P.O. Box 1833, 85280. First, I want to note that I think the immediate response time today was about 15 seconds for the chief to get up here and answer questions. So he's always available and always responding. I represent Axon and work with Axon, and we're building the campus immediately adjacent to this. In fact, we dedicated the land the fire station will go on. I just want to say that we're super excited about being next to the fire station, and also point out, as you talk about technology issues and other things, that we've worked really closely with the chief, also the police chief, and we want to continue to work together as we develop new public safety technology. And the chief has been great to be available. So we're super excited about this. As a use, we think it's great. As a site plan, which is really, as your council has focused you, the issue of the day, we have worked with the fire station to make sure that our site plan and our campus works well with their site plan. And so we're anxious for that to proceed. Thank you.
Great, thank you. With that, if I could, I think we've exhausted this pretty well, ask for a motion for agenda item number 2.
Yeah. I will, Chair, I'll move to make a recommendation to City Council for approval of Case 3 UP 2023 and 4 UP 2023 per the staff recommended stipulations based upon the findings that the municipal use master site plan and conditional use permit criteria have been met.
Okay, we have a,
Sorry, I put both together. I remove 4 UP, sorry, I read the combined. I'll remove the 4 UP 2023 from that motion, and right now we will only vote on 3 UP 2023, Fire Station 612 and Well 160. Eric, did I clean that up? Thank you.
okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Serena and a second. Second from Commissioner Ertel. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Higgs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaminsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Ertel,
Yes.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Yes.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we will officially move on to agenda item number 3, 4 UP 2023 DC Ranch Corporate Center, Lot 4. Presentation from Mr. Waylon Barton.
Hi, good evening, Chair Higgs and Planning Commissioners. My name is Waylon, Senior Planner with the city's current Planning Department and Case Coordinator for 4UP 2023. To begin the presentation here, we'll start with the request for consideration, which is a recommendation to City Council for approval of a conditional use permit for vehicle storage on about an 1.5 acre site located at 9256 East Verde Grove View with the Industrial Park Planning Community District zoning. To start with some graphics here, we have the context aerial where you can see the site is kind of nestled between North Pima Road to the west and North 94th Street to the east, as well as Bell Road directly south there on your screen. As we zoom in a bit, we see that the site is surrounded by 3 street frontages there, East Palo Brea Bend, North 92nd Place, and East Verde Grove View, with the single-family residential directly north across East Palo Brea Bend, which is the DC Ranch community. As we look at the zoning, as I mentioned, it's an R17 single-family to the north. The subject site itself is I-1 Industrial Park PCD, as well as the surrounding sites. As we look at a preliminary site plan for reference, we see that the request here is for 2 separate buildings. Building to the west is labeled as Building B, which is the proposed office, and Building A to the east, which is the proposed vehicle storage building, with the required parking being met central to the site, with circulation revolving around the parking stalls. For some site data, we see the building areas for A and B, as well as some of the vehicle storage layout for Building A there to the right-hand side of your screen. In the packet, you probably noticed there are some amended development standards as part of this I-1 PCD district, which includes FAR, lot coverage, building height, as well as some open space parameters. The site is meeting those requirements. Lot coverage 50%. With this proposal, we're looking at 21.2%. Also to note that the building is within those height parameters along the perimeter as well as on the overall site. For a preliminary landscape plan, we see that the applicant is proposing improvements along the perimeter of the site with landscaping as well as internal to the site. Some items for consideration tonight. The site is part of the overall master plan community of DC Ranch. They did receive HOA approval from the DC Ranch Community Council and Covenant Commission. The site improvements for this vacant lot is being reviewed separately under a DRB case 10-DR 2023 concurrent review. As I mentioned, single-family residential is to the north. We have not received any public comments for this case. Additionally is the conformance to the CUP criteria, which I believe is, next slide here. So conditional use criteria, briefly we can talk about the impact to the public health, safety, welfare, which is really revolving around noise, smoke, odor, dust, vibration, illumination, as well as impacts to the surrounding areas resulting from unusual volume or character of traffic. For the responses here, this proposed vehicle storage use is contained within that fully enclosed building with a limited number of stored vehicles. There will also not be any automotive repair work done at this vehicle storage facility. Additionally, parking for the proposed site requires 46 spaces. The applicant is providing 47 spaces on site. Additionally, the DC Ranch Corporate Center was intended to accommodate a mix of land uses, and the proposed vehicle storage use is not anticipated to generate unusual volume or character of traffic. Criteria B, the characteristics of the CUP are reasonably compatible with the types of uses permitted in the surrounding areas. This vehicle storage is consistent with the intent of the overall PCD area. DC Ranch Corp Center is zoned to accommodate a variety of those land uses. The existing area is currently comprised of several office and warehouse uses in the DC Ranch Corporate Center, including a recently approved vehicle storage use adjacent to the subject site, which would be directly west of this site. Additionally, there are no additional conditions specified for a vehicle storage use. So for staff's recommendation, we recommend that the Planning Commission finds that the CUP criteria have been met and determine that the proposal is consistent and conforms with the adopted general plan, and to make a recommendation to City Council for approval per the attached stipulations in your packets. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm here to address any questions or concerns. The applicant Dale is also here with a PowerPoint presentation to present to you.
Thank you. Before we move to the applicant, if we move to the applicant, do we have any questions for staff? No? Okay, we'll move on then with the presentation from the applicant. I believe, is it Mr. Drew Tryon? You please state your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes, 3 minutes? I don't even have the clock working.
My name is Dale Garden with Dale Garden Design, 20885 North 90th Place, Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm the principal architect for the firm and for this particular project. I can go through the entire presentation, but I could also just hear a question and may just zoom right into a single graphic or something. So
does anyone have a specific question to start with?
Well, I guess I could just go right to the questions if nobody needs a presentation on it. First of all, is all the vehicle storage that you're going to anticipate in a enclosed area?
100%.
I mean, with a roof line?
Yeah, 100% within a building, private vehicle storage, and other than the obvious parking lot for the normal office uses.
Okay, so there's quite a bit of off-site parking in there. I didn't know how it was going to be done. My question is, first of all, do you anticipate any vehicle storage with any kind of lithium batteries or anything of that sort on the property site?
I don't know if there will be electric vehicles or not within the building.
Is there going to be an electrical charging system within the site?
We are required to have one by the city.
Okay, and that will be on the outside?
Certainly to serve the general office use, yes. That's a minimum requirement by the city now.
Right. And then do you have any special fire suppression within the building other than the normal suppression systems given to a commercial building?
We have exactly that, just the normal provisions of fire suppression. And this, again, is consistent with every other vehicle storage requirement in this area.
Did what is the total height on that building? I'm sorry, I didn't have it right in front of me.
The maximum height is 36 feet. We are below the maximum, and there's a secondary height restriction on the north at 24 feet.
Yeah,
so there are
right.
two different heights, and we
Right.
are in compliance with both.
Stepped, yeah. Okay, and then on the, is this going to be a gated facility, or is it going to be open?
No, this is an office use, so the parking lot is open for public use.
Okay, and then the combination of the office space would be just for the tenants' use only?
Sorry, there's two buildings. So building B is an office use. Parking is commensurate for that. On building A, there is car storage at the main level, and there's a private office at the second level.
Okay. Is the operating hours of a normal business operating hours, or are there going to be extended office hours within the
No
facility?
planned extended office hours beyond normal use and private use of this facility.
And what hours will that be?
Normal business hours in terms of, you're asking for in terms of access to the site or?
Yes,
Yeah,
access.
access to the site would be normal business hours, but nobody would be prevented from working late or occupying a building beyond 5 o'clock hours, and no different than any office building.
Okay, then the other question I would have is then, what is the anticipated volume, or how many car spaces do you think will actually be housed on
That
the
was
storage
within
area?
this, our submittal. There's a plan showing approximately 15 car spaces within the main level of the building. But that's within the floor plan that was submitted. I can refer to that if you'd like.
Okay, so that's 15 total cars in storage on site?
15 cars within Building A as a private car collection, in addition to the the cars that are parking in a parking lot.
Is that going to be a single user?
Yes, it's a private collection.
Okay,
It's not a commercial operation.
okay. That's basically everything I needed to know. Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Okay, very good. I think we might be good on this case. With that, if there aren't any other questions, if we have a motion.
Chair Higgs, if I could, I'd like to make a motion. Move to make a recommendation to City Council for approval of Case 4 UP 2023 based upon the finding that the conditional use permit criteria have been met.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Scarborough and a second.
I'll second.
Not sure who was first. We're going to go with Vice Chair Young on that one as a second. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Higgs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaminsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Ertel,
Yes.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Yes.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. That concludes our meeting unless we have any other final comments or questions. If I could get a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A motion and a second.
Second.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you. Good evening.